Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 1 o'clock Eastern, and time for Thrive, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to make this year your most successful year ever. And I have in the house today none other than sales evangelist Donald Kelly. Welcome to the show, Donald.
Meredith, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you, and thank you for doing this and for bringing so much value to the community for years. And I'm grateful that I get a chance to watch you from afar, and now I get a chance to learn that you're healed. So
Yeah. Well, whoops! There goes my dog, excited about somebody at the door or something. But I have so many. I've been all over this last week. Your
Sure.
blogs and your podcasts. I have so many things that I want to talk about today. I'm going to hit the video, and we're going to go ahead and jump in.
Let's do it.
All right, again, welcome to Thrive, the show where we discuss everything that you need to know to shift how you think, feel, and act, most importantly, when it comes to uncertainty. And I'm hanging out here today with Donald Kelly, the sales evangelist. And Donald, I want to start by getting an understanding of how did you become the sales evangelist? I mean, where did that come from? And have you always had a passion for sales, or is this something that came later in life?
Yeah, I grew up as a kid in Jamaica, moved to the US when I was 9, and everyone around me in Jamaica was in sales, but I had no clue it was called sales, Meredith. It was just being a businessman. And from my dad, from my aunt coming to the US, cousins and friends who would buy products and sell them back in Jamaica, buy them in the States, or like one of our friends who rode around and roasted peanuts, and he sold peanuts in the evening. So everyone around me, that's what you did. I mean, Jamaica is classified as a third world country, so the economy isn't like booming as like the US it would be. So people figure out ways to make things happen. So then fast forward, when I came to the States and I wanted to earn money, the first thing I thought about was become a businessman, become an entrepreneur, create something. So from a young age, I would do that. But again, I didn't classify it as sales, Meredith. And then I went into college, and with this mentality and trying to create opportunities. And one of my buddies was like, you should consider going into sales. The school I went to, Brigham Young, they did not have a sales program at the time. So it was marketing that I did. And they had a little bit of a sales, like one class that we did for 1 week out of their whole time in school was around sales. But I took part in different jobs that I did do formal selling, and got introduced to B2B selling, and absolutely loved it and fell in love with it in college. So graduating, I went into sales post-college and did pretty well there. Learned a lot, actually, coming out of the university, and finally was able to get some training, formal training, and my career took off like a hockey stick as far as like money I was making and success that I was having. And I started to share that stuff, what I was working for me as a sales rep. So in 2012, I started a podcast. Jeb Blunt had a show, and a few other had podcasts, and I was like, there's no room for another podcast, but let me just go ahead and start it. So there were like 5 or 7 podcasts at the time. But anyways, I started it and just started to share what was working. The title, The Sales Evangelist, comes from, and I interviewed him 3 times, and I gave him credit, Guy Kawasaki. He was the chief evangelist at Apple in the 90s. And that's the first time I ever heard that title used in the business term, because it's associated with religion and Christianity. And the vividness of that title, though, I thought made sense. And think about somebody evangelizing about a cause or a business. Yeah. And I saw a guy doing that, in my mind when I was reading about him in college. So anyways, I came out of school, and one of the second company I worked for was a tech company in which we did manage IT services. And I went to this networking event, and it was like every other networking event, Meredith, everybody getting up. I'm an account executive. I'm a sales rep. And I got on the bar stool, didn't go up all the way, but I had a tablet at the time, Apple II tablet. And I said, it was a managed IT company. I said, my name is Donald Kelly, and I'm the tech evangelist. Our company went to the mountaintop and got the latest tech, and we help your businesses develop. And everybody afterwards was like, they wanted to meet me. So I was like, something is there with that. And I started to play with it. So I went back to the office, and I told the manager, can I please change my title from seller to a tech evangelist? And ever since then, I played with that. And so when I started a podcast and I was getting trying to figure out names, one of my buddies, he was like, man, you're always talking about sales. You're like an evangelist for sales. And I was like,
There it
that's
was
it.
again.
That's it. So it became the sales evangelist. And just, I love to talk about sales, love to share what's working. I love to evangelize the methods that's been helping me and help other sellers that are in the same situation I was in, to thrive and succeed. So that's a long answer.
Well, what's so interesting is I love the fact that when you were a kid, you didn't think it was sales. It was just growing up to be a businessman. Because
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most challenging parts of people that go into business for themselves. They think they're going into business to do whatever it is they want to do. And the truth is, you're going into business first to sell so that you have the privilege to do what it is that you love to do. So in starting your podcast and starting the business, when you work with organizations or work with business owners or people who sell B2C or B2B, what is it about sales? Why do people have such a misconception and such a challenge around sales?
Very good question. I would say let's go to misconception first. I think the idea here is when people think about selling, it's because of the zeitgeist or what the mainstream or what media has fed to us about sales is when somebody who is very charismatic has the capability to be able to convince or coerce or trick someone into doing something that they didn't think they needed to do or invest in. So with that idea, we go in. If I don't have an understanding of sales and I have a business and I feel that I have to go out and do this, is first off, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to trick people into doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But majority of people who have a legitimate business have something that can solve somebody's problem. So we got to get past that. So get past the notion that you're trying to get somebody to do something that they don't want to do. Secondly, is the idea that we don't want to convince anybody to do something they don't want. We need to help people convince themselves. And when I came to get that realization in my first early part of my sales career, that my job isn't to convince you to buy it, but to help you to convince yourself. I saw that one in the software and in the things that I sold, people stayed with us longer and customer relationship was much better. And two, it was easier on my part because I'm not convincing you, to do it. I'm helping you, educate you enough within knowledge that you can make a decision that's going to be informed, that's in your best interest. And naturally, you're going to compensate me for that. So the two things there, especially with entrepreneurs that folks that I work with who are starting maybe they launch, you got like a Series A or their first part of their business and they're trying to get things going. One of the things that I find a lot with entrepreneurs is, to go back to what you're sharing, is the fear of just pushing something. But again, it's your moral obligation if it's something of value to help someone. If you're, for instance, if I am just a silly example here, if I am thirsty and you have a bottle of water, it's your moral obligation to tell me you have something that can relieve my thirst so I don't die. So if you have a technical solution that can solve a business technical problem, yeah, maybe people don't get it right away, but your moral obligation is that you deliver the message, so to speak. And if they don't want to receive it right now, let's go find someone else that is. But that's the mission that we're on. And I find that those entrepreneurs who get that and they recognize that they're on a moral mission, a moral obligation, they don't see it as tricking someone. They see it as bringing value to the community. And I know that's an overplayed word, but the concept is there, though, that I want to be able to relieve the challenge that you may have or that you may not even know you have. And that's where the education part comes in. And once we educate somebody enough, then it makes sense. I've spent money on things that I didn't think. Growing up in Jamaica, Meridith, I'll tell you this. It was 1994. And I remember there's three things that we got that year in 1994. My cousins brought back from the U.S. One was this weird looking white machine. It was a microwave because I'd never seen a microwave in my entire life. I had no clue. I'm like, is it an oven? Is it a toaster oven? I understood toaster oven, but I didn't understand microwave.
Yeah.
Was a Nintendo. It was the first time we got a Nintendo in Jamaica, and it was like the coolest thing, and everybody was at our house. And the third thing was a bottle of water. I had no clue understanding why in the world would human beings sell water. It's so abundant. Why we have a faucet out back. So the point I'm trying to get back to, though, once I was educated that there's minerals and things that are in the water, or sometimes bacteria for people who are not used to Jamaica water that could affect them, I saw the value in that, and people, and therefore we were able to, now I buy a bunch of bottles of water, and I would buy a Voss bottle of water, and sometimes you buy it for the style.
Yeah.
So the point is the value got added to it, and the same notion applies when it comes towards selling as an entrepreneur, as a human being. Once I realized that there are people out there have problems, and my job is to help educate them on that, then people that I can help them to make a decision, just like people they helped me to make a decision by educating me about bottled water, and that was a thing. So I didn't grasp it at first, but I recognized the value in it afterwards.
I love the fact that's such a great story, because it's so important, I think, for us as sales professionals to recognize all our customers are responsible to know, and they don't even always know this, is the problem they have. Sometimes they don't even know the depth of their problem. But how the product can solve their problem, that's our job. Like that's what we need to be able to bring to the table. And on the other piece that you said, I always tell my clients, I'll say the worst thing that can happen to you in the marketplace is not that you don't get the sale. It's that your customer found out about a product they need from somebody else other than you. And I think we get so hung up on the close that we get gun shy, or we push, and one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you speaking truth here, Meridith. Come on.
LinkedIn user here. Great. How do I get people excited about my product? I think Donald's touched on this a little bit in the value, but how would you answer that question? How do you get people excited about a product?
Yeah, I think the first thing I feel, and a LinkedIn user, go ahead and tell us what product you sell. It'd be cool to learn about the product.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Example. But let's go back to, like, for us. I would say, and I'll start off with things that I've done before I use TSC as an example. But one of the things that I did was one of the companies I worked for was a software company. It was a document management solution. So we work for city, county governments in K-12, and we set up their, go in there and take all of their paper product, and we literally put it in digital software that we had. It was pre-Dropbox and Google Drive days. And with that, though, I started to live that, Meridith. I literally told everybody about it, because it was like, in my mind, was revolution. Not everyone was going to be able to do that, but I went home and I started scanning my documents, and I started putting them in digital folders on my computer. It wasn't a software that we were selling, but I loved it so much that I started to do it myself, and I started to tell everybody else about it. There's something about a founder magic. I call it founder magic. If you're a CEO, if you're the owner of an organization, if you're the product developer, there's something that you have that no one else can really replicate. And that's your knowledge and excitement for that particular product or that particular service. And that enthusiasm that you have the confidence you have in it can spill over very easily by having conversations. So the first thing that I would say in our case, when I transfer this to TSC, inadvertently, that came from me through podcasting, because I did speech and debate in high school. I was very comfortable in front of a camera and speaking on a mic. So I love that medium. I love talking about product, sales. So therefore, I married those two, and I started doing the podcast, and it became a means where people started to find out about it. It wasn't a trick. It wasn't like there was a hook in it. I just shared content like without any narrative or any type of underlying trick. And because of that, by sharing the knowledge, people came back to it. So for you as a business owner, whatever product you're selling, I would say you need to make sure that gets out to the marketplace, that excitement for it, whether that's through video. And I saw a bake and market European pastries. Oh my goodness.
I'm already excited. Aren't you?
If I were you, and it's not me, but if I were you, Instagram would be the place that I would be. And Instagram, every week you would go live just like Meridith, and I would give the latest and greatest tips and ideas when it comes towards pastries. Here's one that I would love to get from you right now. What are some pastries that I can eat that's going to still be able to help me not feel guilty about my calories? And maybe there's some really delicious pastries that you can say, here's 5 pastries that you need to look at that's going to help you this year to stick with your New Year's goal, but also make sure your tummy feels excited. 1 is this, 2 is this, 3 is this, 4 is this. To get the full recipe and get some more, go back to bake.com and find all the details there. But then that's you sharing excitement for it. By me getting your knowledge, I'm going to go back to your website now and gather more information. But the key there is you got to be out front. Right now, oh my goodness, it's another thing too. 72% of economists say that we're going to hit some kind of recession or challenging times when it comes to the economy. And most business owners, I promise you, here's this from me. Most business owners, and go back to 2008, this is when I first started coming into the business world, but I studied it and I saw what happened. People ran to the hills and they started to hide and started to worry and frantic internally, and they weren't exposing themselves externally to their potential customers. So they left people out there to fend on their own. You need to be out there right now when your competitors are running and hiding and doing all type of internal figuring things out. You need to be the one that's out there presenting, just like Meridith, information, so that when things is better and people are willing to spend as much as they did before, which I think everything still looks good, people will see you as that person because you're going to grab up market share while your competitors are hiding. So the point I'm trying to get at here is that you need to create content. Pick a medium. Don't go do everything. If you want to write blogs, do that. If you want to do podcasts, do that. If you want to do videos, do that. If you just want to do Instagram, do that. But pick one place, provide information. And if you were to do that consistently, at least for 30 days, I promise you, you're going to see that more people drum up excitement for you, people in your network already, and new people. And that's going to be one way you can get out in front of the community.
Yeah, I can't stress enough. I mean, LinkedIn user said, sorry, they're supposed to be unhealthy, but your point is so well taken, because I think that I really don't want anybody listening to this to lose the understanding. The first place that the excitement needs to happen is with you. You know, buying a product today, I can buy a product anywhere. I mean, let's use pastries. I can get a pastry anywhere. But I'm buying the energy and the excitement. Last year, I did a speaking engagement for Nothing Bundt cakes. I don't know if you've ever eaten one of those cakes, but they're unbelievable. But just doing the research, the enthusiasm that the people who make and sell those have for those cakes is contagious. Now, I can buy a cake anywhere. Quite frankly, I can buy a Bundt cake almost anywhere. But there is such a cult about that. And, you know, I think LinkedIn user, I think that Donald has had great. I would go to Instagram, and maybe you can't tell people how to eat pastries and lose weight, but you can tell them, you know, you can get them excited about pastries and what these will add, you know, to a wedding, what it will add to a business, you know, event. Talk to them about even, you know, you may not be able to make them 100% healthy, but why do people in Europe eat pastries every day and they don't get fat? And we here in America haven't eaten bread since 2001. We're putting on pounds like there's no tomorrow. Like, you can talk about those types of things, you know, all over the place. So that energy, excitement, your knowledge, I think you need to go three directions. You know, number one, care about people. That's why you make these pastries, because you want to make their event amazing. Then educate them, exactly what Donald said. Give them the knowledge to understand the value of what you do, and then make it so ridiculously easy to buy from you. You do that, you're home free. Yeah.
I can't wait. Drop a link.
Yeah, no kidding, right? See, I had a great question. I hope I didn't crucify your name, but it's hard to transfer that excitement to the rest of the GTMD. L&D and pushing sales and marketing into target communities helps them empathize. I really love this statement, because gosh, when I was coming up in sales, and I've got quite a few years on you, we as salespeople could be an island in and of ourselves. You know, if customer service screwed it up or operations screwed it up, it didn't matter, because I could go out. You could only really shop on Main Street. And so you were either going to buy from me or one other person. Now, if my team isn't as enthusiastic as I am, if your experience isn't good all the way through, you're going to go buy from somebody else. So I wonder your take on that.
Yeah. I think this, I read back through his question. I think there's so much to that too. Cookies. I can't put the cookies.
I'll put that up. I'll put the link up.
So yeah, I think I had a couple clients right now. They're in Europe, Poland. And one of the things that they brought up was a couple, we hold mastermind quarterly, and they're part of it. So it was, about 2 masterminds ago, they were talking about how their marketing team, similar idea, where they were pushing certain things for them. And one of them in particular, one of these guys, he was getting pushed around to like different focus groups. Like, focus group meaning like target accounts. It was like, you're going to do this industry, and then you're going to do this one. And it was just like going all over the place. And it was just really frustrating for him. Like, how do I be able to set and be able to really master and hone in? And I think there's a couple of things. If that's what you're looking for, Sai, I forgot his individual's name, Sia. But the concept that I got though from that is just, I thought about it, and I'll speak for myself. I thought of myself as an go back to what Meredith was sharing, as this as an entrepreneur in my territory. I love the Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. I believe that's the name of the book.
That is.
Yeah, and in that book, obviously there's certain things you control, certain things out of your control. If you don't own the corporation, you're not going to have full control. And especially nowadays, there's so many different ways that things can be taken from you out of control. But you need to maintain the control in the sense of thinking of yourself as that entrepreneur, as that territory manager. And no matter what you get, what industry you're a part of, you just need to make sure you maximize that. And the biggest thing that I told this client that he did was he just did research as much as he possibly could. One area that they gave him was real estate. He didn't know a whole bunch about real estate, but he really went ahead and understood as much, did the research as much as possible to understand the pains and the problems, the challenges that they're facing. This led him to have a better conversation. Then he tapped into his network, and then from there he started doing cold outreach. So there's 3 steps that he followed. 1, learn about the industry. Well, number 0 was like, not worry. You can't change what you can't change. They give you what they give you. 2 is then, and if you want to stay with that company, go ahead. If not, go with another company. 2, then he went ahead and did the research. 1, did the research. 2, he went ahead and connected with this network. And then 3, he went ahead and did cold outreach. From doing that, he had the confidence and the capabilities to hold conversations and share that with his people that were familiar with him. And then from there, he took it outside and go to cold prospects. And he saw a significant improvement, saw appointments that he started to land, and he closed some pretty good deals. So even though they're going to push you around and give you different areas, you just need to make sure you think of it like that. And the first part of your question on the idea, how do you transfer excitement? You can't transfer excitement by telling somebody about it. You got to get them to experience it.
Yeah.
So I like to do that. The easiest way, or the lowest hanging fruit, experience it, is through role play. And then the second thing is to get out there and just do it. So once you can get someone to what I did in my experiences, I went ahead and did case studies internally in the company. I would study the case studies and see why our customers are even excited in the first place. And then I went ahead and called our customers, and I spoke to them directly. I remember one of them was over in the city of Punta Gorda. They were like one of our best clients. So I was like, I need to figure out what's going on with her. So the account manager, I asked him, can I speak to your client and just find out why she's so excited about our product? And I was able to interview her. And from that call, I was able to learn, and I took that and I experimented in my conversation, and it made a world of difference, because I wrote off of her experience, her confidence about our product, because I didn't purchase the $50,000 software, but I wrote off of her experience, read the case studies. And then 2, I went out and I practiced it. I didn't go to work. My shift started at, typically 8:30. I got to work at 8 o'clock, and I was there studying the playbook and also like the content, because I really wanted to do well in my role. And then when I practiced now with customers, I was living that, and I heard their problems, and I could speak to that case study. So you can't really transfer it, but you got to go out and experience. And if you're in a leadership role, you get on calls with folks, you get them the opportunity to experience. And I've seen it made a big difference for me and for my team when I get into the bullpen with them.
What I love about what you're saying is, I think this is one of the most overlooked parts of sales. If you listen to customers, they will give you everything you need, not only to sell them, but to sell everybody else. I mean, anybody who's listening to this right now, let's talk about the cookies and the pastries and everything. Why do some people buy from you? And when they start to tell you their excitement about what it is your product offers, you simply use that verbiage then to both choose the right target market, because that's the right type of person who wants to buy from you. And as well as, that's the value prop. I mean, sitting in a room and Donald and I trying to determine what our value prop is kind of stupid. If we go out and we talk to people, how did what we do make a difference for you? How did it, add something to your event? How did it, help you increase your bottom line? What they tell you is really going to be your value prop. Oh gosh, this has gone so fast. You have to come back on, because I have so many other things to ask you. We are almost to the end of the show. 2 questions that I like to close with. You can answer them in any order. And Donald, you were well worth the wait. I know this has taken us a long time. Um, Number one is, what's your best piece of advice? As we look at 2023, it definitely promises to be a challenging year. Whether these economists are right or wrong at this point doesn't really matter because they planted the seed in everybody's head.
Yeah.
And then how do people get a hold of you? How do they find out more? And you really need to go to Donald's website. He's got great podcasts on there. He's got blogs on there. He's got all different types of courses, just really valuable information. So either way you want to answer this.
Yeah. Thank you, Meredith. I appreciate that. I would say the best thing I can give you right now, and this is for now and forever, you all take and run with this. I like the tinfoil dinner analogy, and I'll shut up after this. I'm a Boy Scout, got my Eagle Scout and all that fun stuff.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We'll do tinfoil dinners. And I remember once I made a tinfoil dinner, I thought I put enough seasoning in it, but when I got there and ate it, it was like, wow. My buddy, secret, he said, bro, you need to over season it. You need to put more than you think you need. Because what happened with tinfoil dinners, because it's just sitting flat and kind of like water based, it will rush out like your potatoes and so forth. So you got to make sure you season more than you think. If the economy goes the way people think it is, whether it's a good economy or whatnot, you need to make sure you do more than you think you need, whether that's for your pipeline, whether that's for your quarter or whatnot, whether for your daily outreach. Do more than what you think you need, because there's no shortage of people who need what you have to offer. However, there's going to be times where you feel exhausted, where you feel weak, where you feel like I already have enough, I already have deals in the pipeline, life is going okay, I've done a lot of work today already. But think about it. There's somebody else out there that needs what you have to offer. And I would say just push yourself to go a little bit further than where you're comfortable with. Get a little bit more than what you need. Over season it just a little bit, because I promise you, things are going to happen. Deals will slip. Things may get tough, but if you're having more than you need, you're going to be like that nice little squirrel who has a secret stash, and you won't have to worry. And that's my advice to you.
That's great advice.
And it all comes back to discipline. And that's my key word for 2023 is what I tell myself is discipline. And everything that I'm doing, my health and my food and my pastries, and prospecting, discipline. And then a final thing, I'm on every platform as Donald C. Kelly. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. If you want to have a conversation with me easier and quicker, you can also do that on Instagram, because you're going to have less people to fight with. I have not as many followers there, so you can hit me up, Donald C. Kelly. But those two places where I really camp out. And you can check out our website, The Sales Evangelist, as Meredith shared. We have a ton of content there, and we have a community on Circle. If you connect with me on any platform, I'll send you there so you can chat with us and chat with other sellers and engage. But I appreciate
and we'll make sure all of that is in the show notes. Like I said, it was all over your blog and your podcast last week, getting ready for this interview. And there's really good stuff there. I really encourage people to make sure all of that is in the show notes, as well as making sure in the show notes we can all figure out how to get those pastries that we all need to kick off 2023. So, Donald, I want to thank you so much for being on here. I feel like we have scratched the surface. I really hope you're going to come back on. I'd love to talk further. But like I said, it took us a while to get this scheduled, but you were well worth the wait. And audience, you were amazing today. Loved the questions, loved the input. And for everybody, I'll see you right back here next week, 1:00 Eastern, for another episode of Thrive. Until then, turn all of this uncertainty into your greatest competitive advantage.